Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm super excited. I have my hair pinned back, ready to do makeup, ready to chat about not only the Burberry Girl look, which I think is a very quintessential like e-commerce look and a good skill set to know, but also how I booked a global brand like Burberry. So let's get into it. Okay, so skin prep. And while I talk about skin prep, the first thing I want to let you know is we have an amazing YouTube giveaway. All the details of how you can win up to $500 worth of makeup for your kits will be in the description box below. So don't forget to check that out because we want more people destroying the starving artist narrative and more people changing the dog eat dog vibe within the creative industry. So all the links of how you can win up to $500 worth of makeup will be linked in the description box below. Okay, first up, skin prep. Now for e-commerce or when you're doing kind of production style makeup, you don't have loads of time to do skincare. So I'm just gonna start with a serum. I'm gonna start with the Merit Great Skin, and I'm just gonna rub this together to warm it up in my hands. And even using skincare, there's even things you can do at the beginning of prepping the skin that make makeup look better. So even kind of using like downward strokes and then kind of like lifting just gives a little bit of like facial massage so that the blood kind of comes to the surface of the skin. I'm gonna go in with the Augustinus Beta moisturizer, so I have a nice dewy base. So the Burberry Girl look, let's talk about the Burberry Girl look because I think it's actually one of those makeup looks I probably wear quite a lot. I think it's very much it's like one up from no makeup makeup. I think the Burberry Girl, they did used to have quite a sporty look for some of their campaigns, but it was also very much everything falls into those like natural tones, like the earthy tones, the taupes, the mushrooms, the browns, the grays. Again, think about like the classic Burberry trench coat. There's a lot of that happening. Let's talk about how I landed Burberry as a client. So I'm gonna get I think the base I'm gonna use for today, I'm gonna go tinted moisturizer. I'm gonna use the Armani Neo Nude foundation, which I think is now just called their tinted moisturizer. When I was starting out as a makeup artist, there were definitely a lot of brands I knew were like my dream brands that were like on my vision board, and I was like, oh my goodness, I would do anything to be able to work with them. And Burberry was definitely one of them. Using my pitch procedure, which I teach inside Freelance with Freedom, I started carving out a pitch to get myself in front of them. So I learned exactly how to find the person I needed to find. So especially when it comes to things like e-commerce or the studio part of whoever is doing the shoots for global brands, it's usually either a production company or they do it in-house. So I knew I needed to find the contact for the studio manager. That's the kind of person I was looking for. I use my process, like I said, I teach inside Freelance with Freedom, to find the right person, because that's the first part of booking a global brand and working with them, is making sure you know who the correct person is to reach out to versus kind of looking for like a needle in a haystack. So we're just come a little bit closer, the tinted moisturizer all over. So that was step one, was finding the right person. And there are so many ways you can do this. The great thing about the internet now is it's easier than ever to find the exact person you're looking for. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to reaching out, they found the right person, but they start to think about like how they're going to reach out to said person, and they haven't done the work to find not just the exact person, but their name. So you think about it, when you get an email that says, hello, to whom it may concern, hi there, straight away, it feels spammy. Straight away, your brain's kind of like, not sure if this is the vibe for me. The same is definitely true when it comes to reaching out to someone that you want to book you. I made sure, first and foremost, I had the name of the person that I wanted to book me. That was incredibly important. Then what I started doing was thinking about what would Burberry need to see to want to hire me? Like if I think about their aesthetic, what work in my book shows that I truly understand their aesthetic, their brand identity, and how can I showcase that it matches up with my own? So those things were super important. And because of that, before I even thought about reaching out, let's go to the eye makeup now. I'm gonna use, this is another Armani product, but I love this for this kind of makeup. It is the eye tint. I think this is in the shade 22 maybe. I'll link everything below. I'm just gonna put this all over the eyelid. But when it comes to the pitching, before I was even going to reach out, I had to make sure I focused on creating evidence in my book that showcased I understood their brand identity. In other words, I had to create work before I approached them showing that I could do exactly what they would pay me to do. So that meant, for example, if I think about Burberry as a brand, generally speaking, they don't use really bright, bold colors. They don't use a very heavy finish when it comes to the base. There are certain things that are very stereotypically Burberry, very much in line with what they do and don't want their consumer to see or what they want to be known for. And I always say to my clients, when it comes to testing, you should be creating images that look like you're either already working for that brand, or that you would be creating something that brand would genuinely be impressed by. There would be no point me pitching to someone like Burberry and showing them a work full of neon eyeliner looks and super bright, bold eye colors if that's not in line with their brand. Okay, I'm gonna take this underneath the eyes as well. I'm just gonna take a little bit under this because with Burberry, we definitely did kind of like a little bit of, the whole point was to kind of make it just look like a very natural shadow, sort of very soft, very blended. So I'm going to take that under the eye. I'm using a big fluffy brush and I'm just going to buff that in. So like we've talked about in earlier videos, I had to make sure I was finding people who also had the same goals in mind as me and wanted to create the same kind of work. So even if you go back and watch our earlier playlist, that will kind of show you how to do that. But that was a big part of me getting the beginning steps of working with a brand like Burberry. So for Burberry, we just used to fill in the brows very delicately. They generally book girls that had quite big, fluffy brows. And I'm gonna kind of like go into how Burberry became a client of mine for over 2 years. Like I said, I've talked a little bit about pitching, and I think people mistake pitching for being like, oh, you just send them the link to your website, you just send them a document of your work. No, pitching is very strategic. Every little nuance is important, down from what you put in the subject line to what you put in the email copy and what you put in the actual pitch itself. So when I say pitch, it is a document that you create for the brand you want to work with. And again, in Freelance with Freedom, we actually review your pitches for you, so you're never sending out a bad pitch. But this is how you can go from living in the middle of nowhere, no one knowing who you are, to being able to put yourself in the rooms of people who work with global brands, who book artists for global brands. So like I said, my first pitch, I sent to Burberry, and I didn't hear anything back from them. And I think this is where a lot of artists stop. They're like, oh, I didn't hear anything back, they ghosted me, that's it, it's not gonna work, they're not interested, give up. And I think this is the first mistake. You have to get really used to hearing no and being ghosted as a makeup artist. It's going to be something that is going to be a part of you being inside this industry, and it's not a problem. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Normalize hearing no. Again, inside Freelance for Freedom, we have this thing called the no challenge, where we actually help you from a nervous system point of view get used to hearing no so that you can overcome that very quickly, because we know how many people hear no or get ghosted and just give up. They're like, this is too painful, I feel like I make it mean something about me, like I'm not good enough, I'm a failure. Insert whatever it is that you've told yourself that's a limiting belief. So we do work on the mindset things as well. I sent the first pitch, okay? I didn't hear anything back. Then what I decided I would do after following up, I do think a follow-up is really important. After 2 weeks to a month, I followed up just to make sure they had got my email. I still heard nothing. So at this point, what I did was I reviewed what I had sent them, and I really thought, okay, what is missing? What do I need to improve? What do I need to add that isn't currently here that maybe is stopping them from booking me? Again, I would look at who were the artists they were booking. I would go and study their portfolios. I would get really curious. So rather than shaming myself for them not getting back to me or make it mean something about me, I just got curious. Clear brow gel, definitely an essential when you're doing like an e-com look or the Burberry Girl look. So I'm going to take a bit of Got To Be brows and edges and just run that through my brows. I didn't hear anything back. I took all the data that when I was reviewing other artists they were working with, I was reviewing their kind of up and coming campaigns and thinking, oh, actually, I don't think I had enough work that was like this. It seems like they're moving in this direction. I think I could make sure my work kind of reflects that. From there, I went away and did more testing. I went and created better and stronger evidence. Of course, at this point, I was also growing as an artist. So my skill set was developing. I was getting better. Things like my blending was better. My shade matching was better. I was working with better photographers. I thought about what problems did I need to solve. And then after about 6 months, I sent a new updated pitch. And when I sent it to Burberry, I let them know, I've made something for you, again, using my pitch procedure that I teach, and I sent them the new pitch. This time, they got back to me. And it was, we have people right now, thank you so much for getting in touch. Your work looks really lovely. We'll keep you in mind. So I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. I'm gonna put some lip balm on. And from here, again, rather than just be like, okay, yeah, I've done all I can, I carried on thinking about, not just in my book, but within what I was showcasing on social media, what evidence would back up if they were to suddenly look at my Instagram in a month's time, in 2 months' time, that I am the right person to work with them. Like, I totally understand their brand aesthetic. So I did more, not just strategic testing, but I started thinking about the content I was creating. So even my YouTube channel, I started making videos about the Burberry Girl look. I started thinking about how I could make evidence that really showcased I totally understood their brand identity. The third time, okay, like another 6 months went by, and I was still working because I was using this process. I was still working with some clients would book me straight away. But again, I had my sights set on global brands. The third time I reached out with more new, better and improved work, they said the same thing again. Thank you so much for keeping in touch. We love your work. We have artists right now we're using. We'll let you know if that changes. A week later, I'm gonna do concealer. I get an email at about 8 a.m. that morning being like, oh my goodness, Harry, one of our artists is sick today. Is there any possibility you can come in? I came in. From doing that person being unavailable and me being available, that led to 2 years of working with Burberry. Okay, so by the end of the day, they loved what I had done for them. Again, I got it very quickly because I'd really studied their aesthetic. I was very good at taking direction, and I'd spent all the time in between hearing the no's, getting better as an artist, perfecting my craft. What the pitch had done, it had always kept me top of mind. And what it meant was that sometimes for us artists, a no is just a no right now. Sometimes a no is a no today, but it doesn't mean that can't change within 24 hours. It doesn't mean it can't change within a week or a month. And I think having this mindset was so huge for me because it really meant that not only was I ready at the drop of a hat to be like, okay, let's do this, let's go. Yes, I can't wait. But they were booking me knowing I could do the job. All it took was one person not being available. I'm just gonna add a few more dots of concealer for me to get in working with them. And like I said, that relationship turned into 2 years of consistent bookings with a global brand. I went from doing Burberry e-com to doing Burberry lookbooks. And it's one of those things that when I look back, it started with my pitch, but what also was important was me not taking no for an answer and normalizing hearing no. So when I say not taking no for an answer, I don't mean you're gonna hound the brand and be like, book me, book me, book me. If you think about what I did, I was always using the time that I'd heard no to really think about, why is it a no right now? What is in my control and what isn't in my control? I can't control that they already have people they love using, but I can control me getting better as an artist. I can control what evidence is out there in the world that shows what I can do and what I'm capable of. I'm gonna curl the lashes. That is gonna be the next thing I do. So for the eye makeup for Burberry, it was pretty much just this. Like, we really didn't do much on the eyes. And the reason I'm kind of hammering home how important this is because so many artists hear no once and they give up. It could be that moment that you want to give up, that could be when they're on the fence about booking you. That could be the moment that someone else who's, let's say, on the same set or in that same world is saying, oh yes, I know that artist, they're really good, I love their work, you should definitely book them. What you do when you hear a no is more important than hearing a yes. And what I believe we are so good at doing inside Freelance with Freedom is helping you turn no's into yeses. So like I said, just because you get a no, it doesn't mean anything bad happened. It doesn't mean you're never gonna book the clients you want. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of cream bronze, just a little bit. I'm gonna take the Chanel, I think this is the medium shade, and I'm just gonna warm up, but I'm not using a lot. I don't want this to look super bronzy. It's more just to add a little bit of definition in a very natural way. So I'm just using that kind of around the perimeters, just over bridge of the nose, and like I said, just kind of coming into add a little bit of shape around the perimeters of the face. And you can even take this, like something I used to do a lot in ecom was like taking the bronzer like through the socket line a little bit, just so everything really blended together. There was no like obvious edges. While I still have a little bit of lip balm on, I'm just gonna like smudge that in, and I'm gonna mix two of these together. These are the NARS Air Matte. I've got the shade Surrender and the shade Lose Control. And I'm just gonna smudge those together to make a very natural looking kind of like muted lip. So the moral of the story is, A, you have to normalize hearing no, and B, you have to keep thinking about how you can improve as an artist and not make hearing no mean anything about you. I think that's the most important thing I want artists who are watching this to think about is, it took me 3 times. It took me over a year to get in with a brand like Burberry. So I'm just gonna tap this into my lip just to get a little bit of like a kind of peachy nude tone. Again, I never used lip pencil when we did the Burberry Girl look. We just kind of like blended it with our finger. It took me over 3 years. And at any point I could have decided, this is too hard. I don't want to keep doing this. This isn't worth it. But what I did when I heard no is more important than what happened when I heard yes. And I just want this to be a lesson to everyone that it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter whether you assist or not. If you understand how to pitch to brands and you are willing to keep going even when you hear no, you too can book global brands and you can book celebrities. So I'm gonna just add a little bit of powder. And that's really why I wanted to make this video today. I just think people make out that booking celebrities and global brands is impossible and you have to live in a certain city, you have to be in a certain place. But again, this is the beauty of the pitch procedure. And also the internet, like the internet has changed everything. Like if you are willing to travel, if you are willing to put yourself in places where the global brands are working, you can book global brands, you can book celebrities. My clients are proof of that. This year alone, we had so many clients of mine in Freelance with Freedom doing Fashion Week, doing shows for Louis Vuitton, doing shows for Burberry, doing shows for Chanel and Dior, who don't live in LA, don't live in London. I'm just gonna brush my hair out because I did curl my hair a little bit earlier. So in terms of the Burberry Girl look, that's as far as I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna stop there. Again, it was very, very natural. It was very kind of like clean. We never really used blush. Everything was very tonal. Like even the lip, looking in the viewfinder, I could even blot that down more, but everything was very minimal. So hopefully there's some tricks you've learned in this video that you can use, whether it's doing e-commerce or very kind of like clean girl makeup looks that you can take into your own work. But more than anything, I want you to remember that when you know how to pitch and you know how to normalize hearing no, you will be unstoppable as an artist. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe. Don't forget about the incredible giveaway we have, the YouTube giveaway, where you could win up to $500 worth of makeup. All the details of that will be in the description box. And join us, join the community, subscribe, come follow us on Instagram at Freelance with Freedom. I would love to connect with you there, and I hope you have a wonderful week.